The miracle doctor want be a kept man. My heart belongs ashore. Chapter 871. Byron, if you open that coffin, the consequences will be unimaginable. Kiran's voice came from outside. Hearing Kiran's attempt to stop him, Byron Murphy felt even more assured and laughed heartily. Kiran, not only will I open it, but I will also bring Lord Chi Gang back to life. Chi Gang? Kirin York looked at the head. Previously, he had guessed that it was from the Sun Nation, but he did not know its name. Byron's hands slowly pushed the coffin lid open, creating a small gap. The already eerie Kirin Cave became even colder as the lid opened, and a chilling aura emanated from within. Lindsay Ludwig, held tightly by Kiran, couldn't help but cling to him, shivering from the cold. Justin Kruger's eyes were filled with anxiety, worried about his granddaughter's safety but unsure what to do. Kiran kept his gaze fixed on Byron and the opening coffin. He remembered how Cedric Brew had died from poison just by touching the coffin lid and wanted to see if Byron would suffer the same fate. The gap in the coffin lid widened, but Byron remained unaffected, showing no signs of poisoning. Kiran was taken aback, but it confirmed Byron's connection to the coffin. The floating head of Chi Gang circled the coffin. Its eyes emitted a light and glowed with anticipation, eager for the lid to fully open. Holding Wendy Kruger, Byron seemed ready to throw her into the coffin at any moment. "Byron, let go of Wendy," Justin shouted angrily, glaring at Byron with fiery eyes. Byron smirked and ignored him. As the coffin lid opened halfway, a strong wind-like noise emerged from within. The talismans in Byron's hand were sucked into the coffin as if by a powerful force. The coffin appeared like a demon's mouth, continuously devouring the Yang-gathering talismans. Although Kiran and the others couldn't see inside, they could feel an evil force emanating from it. Chi Gang's head spun faster, attempting to enter the coffin but failing due to the insufficiently open lid. Kiran observed Byron closely. Seeing that he wasn't poisoned, he gently put Lindsay down. Byron, focused on the coffin, didn't notice this. As the coffin lid opened 2/3 of the way, the cave's chill intensified, making it feel like hell. Boom! The Buddha's head fell into the coffin with a loud crash. The coffin shook violently, emitting a brief flash of light that landed on Wendy. Byron's eyes lit up with joy as he lifted Wendy and attempted to push her into the coffin. "Byron, you beast!" Justin screamed, rushing forward. Kiran, moving even faster, intercepted Byron. Byron laughed confidently. "You're too late." "Who said we're too late?" Kiran retorted, pulling Wendy back just as she was halfway inside. Enraged, Byron struck at Kiran with his ghost palm. Kiran met the attack with his own, the clash creating a booming sound that shook Justin. Both men stood their ground, but their body. Kiran tried to pull Wendy out, but a powerful force within the coffin held her. Byron noticed and sneered. "Kiran, if you don't let go, you'll be pulled in with her." Justin rushed forward, attempting to help Kiran by attacking Byron. "Get lost!" Byron shouted, kicking Justin away. Justin cried out as he was sent flying like a rag doll. Although Justin's attack failed, it distracted Byron enough for Kiran to pull Wendy into his arms. Despite the strong pull from the coffin, Kiran managed to shoot a handful of silver needles inside. A painful scream echoed from within the coffin. The force weakened significantly, allowing Kiran to retreat with Wendy. Byron, angry that Wendy had been taken from him, quickly checked the coffin. Peering inside, he saw nothing but darkness. As he pushed the lid further, 2 bright lights suddenly shot out, resembling human eyes. Byron's eyes widened in shock as he instinctively stepped back. Kiran, now beside Lindsay, placed Wendy on the ground and inserted 9 silver needles into her body. Wendy twitched and then passed out. "How is she?" Lindsay asked anxiously. "She's fine, don't worry," Kiran replied, his eyes fixed on the coffin. He had seen the 2 lights, which now looked like 2 bright flashlights. Byron stood still, watching the coffin, waiting. Creak, creak. The sound of friction and gnawing came from within the coffin, making the already eerie cave even more unsettling. After a few minutes, a head suddenly jumped out of the coffin. Kiran and the others initially thought it was Chi Gang's Buddha head. However, they were shocked to see it was a human head without a body floating in mid-air. Its black, gleaming eyes caused anyone it looked at to feel a shiver and discomfort. Kiran noted that the head resembled the Buddha statue. Byron, overjoyed, shouted, "Lord Chi Gang, have you successfully resurrected?" The shout made the cave even colder and more terrifying. "Are you an idiot? Can't you see I don't have a body?" the floating head replied. "Oh my God!" Lindsay screamed, hugging Kiran tightly. Byron glared at Kiran. "It's all because of you." Chapter 872. Kirin York didn't get angry at Byron Murphy's accusation. Instead, a faint smile appeared on his lips. He looked at the floating head of Chi Gang and asked, The two small Buddha statues in the Great Hall earlier must have been your left and right arms, right? Qi Gang's floating head glared at Kirin, his eyes shooting out a cold light that made even the powerful Kirin feel uneasy. You are cunning, destroying my two arms. I also kicked you over and broke your body. Why don't you care about that? Kirin sneered, mocking Byron's apparent foolishness. Who says I don't care? I will make you pay back double for everything you owe me, Qi Gang said angrily to Kirin. How do you plan to make me pay back double? Do you need my help? Kirin seemed increasingly calm, even taking 2 steps forward. Qi Gang laughed coldly. You insolent brat. You have ruined my plans of decades. Indeed, decades. Wendy Kruger is already a woman in her 20s, Kirin mused, then continued. You must have put a lot of effort into finding Nell Winter to bear you. Humph. If you think you can extract information from me, you are dreaming. Qi Gang remained composed. Byron, now fully alert, shouted angrily at Kirin. Kirin, if we can't resurrect Qi Gang today, you will definitely die. Kirin pointed to Qi Gang's head, laughing. Look, he can already speak, isn't he alive? You. Byron's face turned pale with rage. What kind of life was it without a body? He's alive, just without a body, which is not my fault, Kirin said, stepping forward again. If you had supported the Buddha statue, it wouldn't have broken. Byron's face changed instantly, looking worry. Qi Gang's face also changed several times, a trace of anger in his eyes. He, too, felt it was Byron's failure to protect him. Byron quickly apologized to Qi Gang. Lord Qi Gang, I really did my best. Enough with the nonsense. Go kill Kirin, Qi Gang ordered harshly. Byron obeyed without hesitation, stepping forward to face Kirin. They were less than 3 meters apart, and the killing intent between them made the cave even colder. Kirin observed Byron. Qi Gang, there's another way you can revive. What way? Byron asked curiously. You can let him take over your body, Kirin suggested, his eyes on Qi Gang's head tempting him. Qi Gang's eyes widened, glowing with interest. Byron felt a chill and fear, instinctively pleading with his eyes. But fortunately for him, Qi Gang didn't want his body, which relieved Byron. I'll kill you and let Qi Gang use your body instead, Byron said, glancing at Qi Gang. Qi Gang's eyes gleamed with light as he greedily scanned Lindsay Ludwig, considering possessing Kirin's body and having the beauty by his side. Kirin's smile was cold. A dead spirit still has desires. You will never be resurrected. Damn you, Qi Gang yelled, enraged by Kirin's words. Whoosh! Byron immediately struck at Kirin with his palm. Kirin's face showed a cold smile, unafraid. Qi Gang, I give you the chance to take Byron's body. Bang! Kirin's fist met Byron's palm in mid-air. Both men staggered back 2 steps. Byron's face paled slightly, surprised by Kirin's strength. Kirin's body trembled a bit, knowing Byron was fighting desperately. Qi Gang's head moved like a spotlight, scanning between Kirin and Byron, looking for a chance to possess one of them. Byron grew more anxious, suggesting, Lord Qi Gang, you could take Justin Kruger or Lindsay Ludwig's body. Qi Gang's gaze shifted to Justin and Lindsay. You want to be an old man or a woman? Kirin taunted. Qi Gang's hopes dimmed. Those weren't viable options. Justin was an old, useless man, and Lindsay, a weak woman, didn't fit his needs. His eyes fell back on Kirin and Byron. Byron felt the pressure, knowing Qi Gang was deciding between them. I'll disable Kirin so you can take his body, Byron said, hoping to persuade Qi Gang. Qi Gang remained silent, eyes on Kirin, filled with anticipation. Kirin remained calm, raising his hand to strike Byron again. Byron wasn't going to hold back either, eager to eliminate Kirin. They clashed again, this time with full force, both stepping back 5 or 6 steps before steadying themselves. Byron's face was grim, surprised by Kirin's strength. Kirin, however, was composed, his eyes fixed. Byron took a deep breath, gathering all his strength to attack Kirin again. This time, Kirin didn't meet his attack head-on, opting to dodge. Byron thought Kirin was afraid, feeling triumphant, and pursued Kirin relentlessly, wanting to kill him quickly. Kirin continued to dodge without fighting back, his eyes occasionally glancing at the coffin and Qi Gang's head, a cold smile playing on his lips. He planned to exhaust Qi Gang, knowing the Yang Gathering talisman's power was finite, and Qi Gang would soon perish without them. Qi Gang, seeing Byron's advantage, believed he would quickly kill Kirin, not considering the talisman's energy. Half an hour passed with Kirin and Byron's fight, but Kirin's dodging prevented any severe hits. Byron's palms created holes in the cave walls, sending rocks flying. Lindsay and Justin, worried about Kirin, didn't dare shout, fearing to distract him. Chi Gang, initially relaxed, now felt his body growing heavier. His head buzzed and he sensed danger. Chapter 873. Hurry up and kill Kirin York. I need his body now, Chi Gang suddenly shouted at Byron Murphy. Byron was startled by Chi Gang's sudden urgency and quickly responded, Lord Chi Gang, please be patient. I will kill him right away. Byron's attacks grew fiercer and sharper, aiming to kill Kirin in one blow. Kirin, seeing his plan about to succeed, remained calm and composed, continuing to evade. Byron, unable to land a successful hit, grew increasingly anxious and started to act recklessly. Despite his frantic attacks, he still couldn't touch Kirin. Chi Gang felt his strength waning and became increasingly agitated. In desperation, he lunged at Wendy Kruger. Justin Kruger, alarmed, tried to stop him, but Chi Gang's eyes flashed, sending Justin flying. Chi Gang reached Wendy and began to merge his head into her abdomen. 9 stars shine bright, Kirin suddenly shouted. The 9 silver needles on Wendy's body emitted a series of humming sounds, shaking like 9 stars. Chi Gang's head froze in place, then jerked away, his face burned black by the needle's light. Damn, Chi Gang cursed, realizing he had been tricked. Byron, terrified, rushed to assist Chi Gang. Byron, take this, Kirin yelled, launching a punch at Byron's chest. Distracted, Byron's counterattack weakened. Crack! A crisp sound of bones breaking came from Byron's hand as his fingers separated from his palm. Kirin's punch had shattered Byron's hand. Ah! Byron cried out in pain, stumbling backward. Kirin, seizing the advantage, continued his assault on Byron. Damn you, cunning scoundrel! Chi Gang cursed Kirin, his eyes shooting out cold beams aiming at Kirin. Kirin flicked his hand, sending 2 silver needles towards Chi Gang's eyes. Clang! The sound of metal clashing filled the air as Kirin's needles struck Chi Gang's gaze, falling to the ground. Byron, clutching his broken hand, looked at Kirin in fear and anger. Kirin, have you been hiding your strength all along? Byron, you're not completely foolish, Kirin taunted. Kirin, you are incredibly cunning, Byron shouted in rage. Byron, it's too late now. Too late for double what? Byron asked angrily. Chi Gang desperately needs a body to possess, and the only suitable one left is yours, Kirin said, smiling coldly. You're talking nonsense, Byron shouted, his eyes flickering with fear as he glanced at Chi Gang. Kirin also looked at Chi Gang. Your power is running out, and the Yang gathering talisman's strength will soon fade. If you don't possess a body now, you'll be done for. Chi Gang's fierce eyes showed signs of confusion and panic. He understood his situation well. Byron grew more nervous, realizing Chi Gang would likely choose his body due to his martial prowess. Lord Chi Gang, I am Lady Meiji's disciple. You can't harm me, he pleaded. Who is Lady Meiji? Kirin asked, intrigued by the new name. His goal of drawing out information was paying off. Byron didn't explain, looking anxiously at Chi Gang. Chi Gang's face twisted with indecision. Chi Gang, if you don't possess his body, you'll soon perish, Kirin continued. Are you really afraid of Lady Meiji? Chi Gang's expression changed several times. Lord Chi Gang, without Lady Meiji, you wouldn't have had the chance to revive, Byron argued desperately. Kirin's mind raced, realizing Lady Meiji must be significant and likely old. Chi Gang, you've been dead for so long and still fear a living person? Pathetic, he taunted. Shut up, Kirin. You don't know what you're talking about, Byron yelled in anger. Ignoring Byron, Kirin continued provoking Chi Gang. A dead man afraid of the living. How utterly useless. Chi Gang, enraged by Kirin's words, finally snapped. Damn you, what do you know? Lord Chi Gang, let's kill Kirin together and you can possess his body, Byron suggested, seeing a glimmer of hope. Chi Gang didn't respond but focused his gaze on Kirin, shooting out 2 beams of light. Byron gathered his strength to attack Kirin with his remaining hand. A ghost and a cripple think they can kill me? Dream on, Kirin's voice echoed with confidence as he leaped towards the black coffin. Don't damage the coffin! Chi Gang shouted in panic. His eyes fired beams at Kirin, who dodged, causing the beams to hit the coffin, piercing 2 holes in it. Kirin, you're asking for death! Byron shouted, aiming a ghost palm at Kirin's back. Kirin easily evaded again. Byron's palm strike landed on the coffin, which already had 2 holes. The coffin started to break apart. The remaining Yang gathering talismans inside burst into flames. Ah! Chi Gang screamed in agony as the talismans burned. Chapter 874. Chi Gang's head floated in the air, emitting a pitiful wail that made everyone's hair stand on end. Byron Murphy quickly ran over to check the coffin. All he saw were pieces of blackened wood mixed with various colored talismans. Seeing the irreversible damage, Byron was furious. He turned to Kirin York and shouted, "Kirin, you're too treacherous." Kirin's mouth curved into a cold smile as he looked at Byron. "You removed the 7-star gathering Yang Array core from Kirin Cave. Don't you think you're even more treacherous?" Byron's face changed several times and his body trembled slightly. Kirin pointed at the floating talismans in the air. "If I'm not mistaken, this array was set up by your master, right?" Byron's face underwent a drastic change. He hadn't expected Kirin to figure it out. Justin Kruger had calmed down by this point, and as he looked around, he noticed many familiar talismans. "Byron, how did you discover this place?" Byron, filled with rage and looking ferocious, angrily retorted. "How I discovered it is none of your business. You're all going to die now. You've gone to such lengths for a dead man, and now you've crippled yourself." Kirin pointed to Byron's broken left hand. Byron's face was grim, but he remained composed. "Kirin, I will make any sacrifice necessary to kill you. Are you willing to let Qi Gang possess you?" Kirin asked with a cold smile. Qi Gang's floating head continued to wail, but his cries faltered at the mention of possession. Byron's face paled in an instant, showing his fear of being possessed. "I'll kill you first," he shouted, aiming a fierce sidekick at Kirin to divert Qi Gang's attention. Qi Gang's eyes gleamed with hope, eager for Byron to kill or disable Kirin. Bang! Byron's foot collided with Kirin's fist, sending Byron flying backward. Kirin took 2 steps back as well. Byron landed and staggered back several steps before steadying himself. Blood spurted from his broken left hand. Byron was visibly weaker. Kirin's sharp eyes, with a composed expression, focused on Byron as he slowly walked toward him. "Lord Qi Gang, let's work together to kill Kirin," Byron shouted at the floating head. Qi Gang opened his eyes and focused on Kirin. Kirin seemed unconcerned about Qi Gang, continuing to walk toward Byron. "Attack!" Byron shouted, launching himself at Kirin with a flying kick. Qi Gang's eyes shot out 2 beams of light like swords aiming at Kirin. Kirin didn't dodge, but instead accelerated toward Qi Gang's head. This sudden move caught Qi Gang off guard. When he tried to evade, Kirin's fist smashed into his face. "Ah!" Qi Gang let out a series of pitiful cries. Byron's attack missed. Seeing Qi Gang being attacked by Kirin, he panicked and ran over to protect him. Qi Gang, seemingly terrified, rushed towards Byron. Byron embraced Qi Gang, ready to comfort him. Qi Gang's head suddenly burrowed into Byron's body like a seed finding fertile ground. Qi Gang's unexpected move took aback Byron. Seeing this, Kirin smiled and quickly moved to attack Byron. Byron, distracted by Qi Gang entering his body, hastily defended against Kirin. Bang! Their fists collided. Kirin staggered back 7 or 8 steps, while Byron only took 2 steps back. Byron paused and quickly realized that Qi Gang's presence had strengthened him. Feeling elated, Byron's confidence surged. "Kirin, if you seek death, I will oblige." Byron, exuding confidence and cold arrogance, approached Kirin, clenching his fists filled with newfound power. "Kirin, be careful. Byron now controls the cave's array. His power will increase," Justin warned. Byron laughed maniacally. "That's right. Qi Gang is the core of the array. Now that he's in my body, I control the power of Kirin Cave." Lindsay Ludwig's face turned pale as she watched Kirin, filled with worry. Kirin remained calm and composed, continuing to walk towards Byron. He approached Byron with such ease that it frustrated Byron, who immediately launched another punch. Byron, now filled with newfound power, was confident he could crush Kirin with brute force alone. Kirin seemed unfazed, charging straight at Byron's fist. Bang! The sound of their clash echoed through the cave, making Justin and Lindsay's heads buzz. Worry etched across their faces as they silently prayed for Kirin's safety. Unnoticed by the others, Kirin's face remained calm, with a hint of a smile in his eyes. After numerous clashes, Kirin suddenly shouted at Byron, "Your time is up." Kirin's words changed the atmosphere in the cave. His body moved like a comet, attacking Byron with unmatched ferocity. Byron, taken aback by Kirin's audacity, quickly regained his composure and leaped to counterattack. "It's your time, that's up." Chapter 875, boom. It was as if thunder roared through the Kirin Cave. Kirin York's body collided with Byron Murphy's. Kirin's fist shot out like a sword, piercing through Byron's chest. His fist emerged from Byron's back, still dripping blood. Byron's punch missed Kirin, grazing past his chest. Byron's eyes filled with terror and disbelief as he stared at Kirin's fist embedded in his body as if he were dreaming. He never imagined Kirin could cripple him like this. even killing him. Kirin, you. I was merely helping you exhaust the power of the seven-star gathering yang array in the Kirin Cave. Otherwise, I would have killed you long ago, Kirin explained calmly. Byron's face turned pale. He looked around and noticed the array's power had indeed weakened. Justin Kruger, too, realized the array's weakening and was equally shocked. Kirin, you are so cunning, Byron shouted, trying to muster strength to break free from Kirin. Kirin withdrew his arm and stepped back. Byron, seeing his bloody arm, felt his strength draining away like air from a punctured balloon. He quickly clutched his wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but it was too late. Useless fool? Chi Gang's voice echoed, his head emerging from Byron's body. Byron's body grew even weaker and he collapsed to the ground. Chi Gang glared at Kirin, saying coldly, Kirin, you are too cunning. You deliberately weakened Byron to prevent me from possessing his body. Kirin smiled at Chi Gang. Didn't expect your IQ to be this high. Chi Gang's face twisted in anger, his eyes filled with hatred. Byron, feeling his life slipping away, laughed bitterly. Chi Gang, you deserve this. If you hadn't been greedy and had worked with me, we might have killed Kirin. You think someone like you is worthy of working with me? Chi Gang sneered at Byron with utter disdain. Byron, already pale, looked even worse. Chi Gang turned to Kirin and said coldly, even if you crippled Byron, I can still survive. You can still survive? Kirin asked, surprised. Don't underestimate me, Chi Gang said proudly. I am a child of the heavens. I don't die so easily. A child of the heavens? Kirin repeated with disdain. Chi Gang nodded arrogantly. Yes, I am a celestial being, a favored child of destiny. Chi Gang looked around the Kirin Cave. We were meant to unify the world and become legendary figures. Though we failed, I will live again and achieve my dream. You failed back then, and you still dream of achieving your goals now. What a fool, Kirin sneered. You're just envious, Chi Gang retorted. Back then, Master Murphy set up this seven-star gathering yang array for my eventual revival. Why would Master Murphy help you? Justin Kruger demanded angrily. Why wouldn't he? Otherwise, how could I be the core of this array? Chi Gang replied coldly. This array was meant to control you, not help you, Justin said, confused. That's where your understanding fails, Chi Gang said smugly. Master Murphy intended to condemn me to eternal suffering, but he inadvertently protected me from reincarnation. Justin's face changed, realizing the truth. Kirin nodded slightly. Byron moved you, so you had a chance to revive, right? The opportunity for my revival wasn't because of Byron. I found a chance to revive, Chi Gang explained. What revival opportunity? Why were you inside my granddaughter? Justin asked urgently. I intended to revive in Nell Donner, but your granddaughter ended up carrying me instead. What is your relationship with Nell Donner? Kirin asked seriously. Nell Donner is my granddaughter. I am the pride and hero of her family, Chi Gang said proudly, recalling his past glory. Nell Donner is your granddaughter? Justin was shocked, staring at Chi Gang with a complex expression. Chi Gang nodded. To ensure my revival, she needed to come to Dragon's Land and be near the Kirin Cave. That's why your son married her. Justin's body shook violently, feeling a deep sense of betrayal and humiliation. And what about Byron? Byron, now extremely weak, heard the question and seemed to regain a bit of life. He coughed and looked at Justin. When I went to Sunland to learn martial arts, I met Lady Meiji. She taught me martial arts, provided money, and gave me the means to return and invest. Who is Lady Meiji? Justin demanded. You are not worthy of knowing who Lady Meiji is, Byron refused to explain, looking at Chi Gang. Chi Gang, showing no mercy, said, Your life no longer matters. Your mission is over. Byron's face looked grim, but he could do nothing. Chi Gang turned to Kirin. You are indeed cunning, knowing how to use others. He looked around the Kirin Cave. If you hadn't exhausted Byron's power, he would be very strong now. Reality is what it is, Kirin replied calmly. In the eyes of Sunlanders, you are less than a dog. Do you still want to keep Lady Meiji's secrets? Byron, feeling near death, was pained by Kirin's words. His face changed as he struggled internally. Who is Lady Meiji? Justin shouted angrily. Byron, after much hesitation, finally said, Lady Meiji is an eternal mystery, Chi Gang interrupted, ramming his head into Byron's. Chapter 876, bang! The air echoed with a sound like a watermelon bursting. Byron Murphy, already weak to the extreme, flew back like a broken kite, crashing heavily against the wall of the Kirin Cave, and finally landed on the ground with a thud. Murphy's head was gone, and his body lay limp like a noodle. However, Chi Gang's head remained intact. Kirin looked at Chi Gang and suddenly smirked. It seems you fooled me. You were using your own power, not the power of the gathering Yang talisman. Kirin, you're not as dumb as you look. With young people like you, the world becomes interesting, Chi-Gang admitted. Kirin sneered. If that's the case, let me send you on your way. Chi-Gang snorted. I think the same for you. Chi-Gang's head shot toward Kirin like a meteor. Kirin raised his fist to counter. Bang! The air resounded with a dull thud. Chi-Gang's head whirled in the air, and Kirin staggered back several steps. You absorbed Murphy's power when you entered his body, Kirin realized. Without absorbing his power, how could you have defeated Murphy so easily? Chi-Gang did not deny it. You people from Sunland are truly cunning. Kirin's tone dripped with disdain. Lady Meiji taught Murphy martial arts so he could gather strength for me, Chi-Gang said with a hint of regret. I cherished that power, but his injury forced me to take this method. Murphy was an idiot, Kirin spat in contempt. Whether he was an idiot or not, you're about to become another one, Chi-Gang taunted as he launched himself at Kirin again. Kirin met him head-on, the air filled with the sound of continuous impacts. Chi-Gang's head seemed to possess endless strength, remaining unscathed. Justin Kruger observed the surroundings, feeling something strange. His eyes landed on the shattered coffin and noticed the changing talismans. Some were losing their color as they were drained of power. He understood the talismans still affected Chi-Gang. Taking advantage of the fight, Justin moved stealthily, lighting the talismans with a lighter. Old fool, what are you doing? Chi-Gang roared upon seeing the burning talismans, charging at Justin. Kirin quickly blocked Chi-Gang's path, punching him away. The burning talismans soon ignited the black coffin's wood, crackling in the air. Chi-Gang's eyes seemed to shoot fire, filled with rage. You all deserve to die. I'll kill you all, Chi-Gang yelled, attacking Kirin with renewed ferocity. Seeing Chi-Gang's reaction, Kirin became more convinced of the coffin's significance, keeping Chi-Gang away from it. Initially, only the wood burned, but soon screams of anguish echoed from within, like countless tortured souls. Kirin recalled Sue Walton's warning about the many souls trapped inside the coffin. He now understood the souls sustained Chi-Gang, allowing his spirit to survive. As the talismans burned, they destroyed the souls, weakening Chi-Gang. Understanding this calmed Kirin. As Kirin grew calmer, Chi-Gang became more frantic, desperate to extinguish the flames. Kirin blocked his every attempt. Don't force me! Chi-Gang, enraged, rushed at Lindsay Ludwig. Kirin, save me, Lindsay screamed, terrified by Chi-Gang's grimace. Seeing Chi-Gang target Lindsay, Kirin's face turned icy with anger. He rushed to protect her. Chi-Gang, seeing Kirin move away from the coffin, turned back to extinguish the flames. You've been tricked, Justin revealed, opening his coat to reveal shining talismans, casting a bright light on Chi-Gang's face. Chi-Gang screamed in pain, retreating as his face burned. He let out a miserable scream and flew backward. He slammed into the wall with a thud, creating a round hole in it. Kirin brought Lindsay and Wendy Kruger closer to the burning coffin. Seeing the talismans on Justin's body, Kirin was slightly surprised. I planned to die tonight with York and the ghost fetus, but now these talismans are useful, Justin smiled bitterly. He glanced at the talismans around the cave. I believe Master Murphy never intended to help these creatures. Looking at Murphy's body, he continued, without these traitorous fools, we wouldn't be in this situation. You will pay, Chi-Gang cursed, trying to flee out of the cave. Kirin stepped forward, grabbing Chi-Gang's head. Chi-Gang struggled like a captured fish, trying to escape. Die. Kirin struck Chi-Gang's head with his palm. Crack. Chi-Gang's head shattered into pieces on the ground. Chi-Gang's eyes, still intact, glared at Kirin. Kirin stepped on Chi-Gang's eyeballs, crushing them into fragments. I will not die, Chi-Gang's voice echoed in the cave, seemingly without fear. Curious, Kirin searched for Chi-Gang's spirit but found nothing. Chapter 877. Boom! A loud explosion echoed, enveloping Kirin York and his companions in smoke. After leaving a final statement, Chi-Gang vanished without a trace. Damn it. He got away. Kirin's eyes were icy, exuding a chilling aura of killing intent. He knew that without eliminating Chi-Gang's spirit, trouble would persist. As he pondered this, the elderly Justin Kruger hurried over, his steps quick and anxious. Kirin, help, help, Justin pointed to a spot not far away, urgently calling for assistance. Following his direction, Kirin saw Wendy Kruger in a dire situation. The incident with the ghost fetus had placed Wendy under immense pressure. According to conventional Western medicine, her condition was beyond recovery. Elder Kruger, don't panic. I'll figure something out. Kiran snapped back to reality, shifting his focus from Qigang's spirit. He supported Justin and headed towards Wendy. At the same time, Wendy's breathing grew increasingly weak, with more air escaping than entering, indicating a critical condition. Kiran placed his hand on Wendy, channeling his vital energy into her body continuously. After a while, Wendy surprisingly opened her eyes. Where am I? Grand. Grandpa. Wendy weakly opened her eyes, uttering a faint voice. Don't talk, focus on your breathing. Kiran placed his hands on Wendy's pressure points and suddenly exerted force. The next moment, Wendy felt a warm energy surge through her body, and her breathing quickened. Within minutes, her blood flow began to stabilize. Kiran withdrew his vital energy and calmly told Justin, Elder Kruger, your granddaughter is out of danger, but she still needs rest. Before he finished speaking, Justin excitedly walked over. He immediately checked Wendy's pulse and, after a few breaths, was overjoyed. Miracle, Doctor! Thank you for saving my granddaughter. From now on, you are the great benefactor of the Kruger family. Whatever you need, just ask, as long as it's within my power. Having confirmed Wendy was safe, Justin finally felt at ease. He looked at Kiran with immense gratitude. Without Kiran, Wendy would have likely been a corpse by now. Reflecting on the perilous journey, he felt deeply thankful. Grandpa. Wendy clung to Justin's hand, recalling the previous ordeal with lingering fear. Justin gently patted her hand, keeping his attention on Kiran. Such a great debt of gratitude left him unsure of how to repay. At that moment, Kiran spoke up, Elder Kruger, to be honest. I want to develop my own medical practice using your traditional medicine clinic. Facing Justin, Kiran felt a bit embarrassed. Although he had saved Wendy and Justin had offered to fulfill any request, the traditional medicine clinic was the result of years of hard work. After much deliberation, he finally spoke up. The clinic? Wendy frowned upon hearing this. The clinic was her grandfather's lifelong achievement, and Kiran was not showing any courtesy. Even though Kiran had saved her life and she would not have hesitated to give up the family's entire wealth, the clinic was her grandfather's pride and joy. She found it hard to let go. While Wendy was anxiously stomping her foot, Justin's voice came from beside her. If our benefactor wants it, then it's his. Justin agreed without hesitation. Grandpa, this clinic is. Wendy blurted out in a rush, making the scene awkward. Nonsense. I originally opened this clinic to help people and treat illnesses. If I can't even cure your illness, what right do I have to keep this clinic running? Benefactor, since you've asked and your medical skills surpass mine, I trust you with the clinic. Justin's stern reprimand silenced Wendy. Regretting her outburst and being scolded by her grandfather, she bit her lip and stood quietly aside. Lindsay Ludwig quietly approached, gently embracing her friend Wendy, offering comfort. She didn't interfere, giving them space to discuss the matter. Elder Kruger, you're too modest. Your medical skills are excellent. It's just that the ghost fetus was challenging to handle. Since you said the clinic is to help people, it aligns perfectly with my future goals. Let's do this. If you don't mind, how about you and your granddaughter continue to work at the clinic and assist me? Kiran sincerely extended an olive branch to Justin, respecting their dedication to medicine and not wanting to take away their passion. Really? I'd be honored. Justin's gloom vanished and he nodded eagerly. Of course. However, I plan to rename the clinic to York Traditional Medicine Clinic. I hope you don't mind? Kiran looked at Justin. Not at all. Since the clinic is now yours, I don't mind. Justin was delighted not because he could stay at the clinic, but because he could learn advanced medical skills from Kiran. Kiran, if no one objects, I could help with the renovation. Lindsay saw their smooth conversation and volunteered to take charge of the renovation. Sure, this kind of work suits you. Kiran winked at Lindsay. Lindsay playfully waved her fist at Kiran but agreed, saying, no trouble. I recently got some renovation materials that can be used for your clinic. Leave it to me. Why don't we go down the mountain now so I can start planning? Lindsay remained relaxed, unfazed by the task. Seeing Wendy had recovered, Kiran nodded and they all descended the mountain. At the foot of Kirin Mountain, Kiran drove Justin and Wendy home. Once Wendy recovered, she regained her refined demeanor, contrasting with Lindsay's mature charm. About an hour later, Kiran dropped Justin and Wendy off at their home. Alone with Lindsay, he finally relaxed. In the car, Lindsay blinked her beautiful eyes at Kiran. Kiran, are you worried Qigang's spirit will come after Wendy again? Kiran's expression grew serious, but just as he was about to speak, his phone rang. Seeing Sophia Carter's name on the screen, he answered, Master, something terrible has happened to my mother. Sophia's anxious voice came through the phone, tightening Kiran's brows and darkening his face. His worry resurfaced. Chapter 878. In the car, Kiran York's relaxed demeanor shifted to one of seriousness as he held his phone. What happened? Don't panic, tell me slowly. Sophia Carter calmed down a bit. I just went to my mother's room and found that she started undergoing another transformation of the heavenly silkworm goo. At first, I thought it was just the GU acting up, so I didn't think much of it. But I just found out that my mother seems to be trapped in a curse, constantly reliving memories from when she was 20 years old. Mom. Mom. Ah, a scream came from the other end of the phone. At that moment, the call was abruptly cut off. Kiran tried to call back, but it was out of the service area. Damn it. Kiran's heart tightened as he stepped on the gas pedal, the car roaring to life. Kiran! What? What's going on? Seeing Kiran's unusual behavior, Lindsay Ludwig asked worriedly. Kiran thought for a moment and said seriously, something might have happened. Hold on tight! With that, Kiran sped down the empty road. Several minutes later, Kiran and Lindsay arrived at the entrance of Sophia Carter's villa. As they stepped in, a chilling and sinister aura suddenly stirred. The entire villa area was shrouded in this shadow, especially around Sophia's family villa itself at the center of the darkness. Be careful. Something's wrong. Kiran held Lindsay tightly. Leaning into Kiran's embrace, Lindsay felt secure as they walked into Sophia's home. They saw Sophia and Joshua Carter circling around Macy Wendell, who was in distress. Sophia had already cried herself into a mess. Suddenly, Macy climbed off the floor and, like a madwoman, rushed toward the door. Sophia and Joshua tried to restrain Macy together, but their combined strength couldn't control her. Just as Macy was about to break free, Kiran stepped forward and pressed a finger to Macy's forehead. Macy instantly calmed down, falling into a coma, her body shivering as if electrocuted. Master, you're finally here. Please save my mom. In her helplessness, Sophia clung to Kiran, sobbing uncontrollably, losing all her previous pride and stubbornness. Kiran was a bit taken aback seeing Sophia like this for the first time. He gently shook her hand off and said, "Let go so I can check on her." Sophia released her grip and stood beside Kiran, wiping her tears. Kiran looked at the trembling Macy, quickly checking her condition, and his brows furrowed. Master, is it because of the heavenly silkworm goo? Sophia asked softly, afraid to disturb Kiran. No. Kiran shook his head and continued, Your mother's condition is complicated and unrelated to the goo. After a moment's thought, Kiran said, You all need to leave. Her condition is tricky. Just as Kiran finished speaking, the comatose Macy suddenly opened her eyes. At the same time, the sinister aura peaked, making the entire room feel like an ice cellar. Be careful. Everyone stay back. Kiran pushed Sophia aside and watched Macy warily. Macy's limbs twisted, her eyes blood-red, chilling everyone. Blood-red tears started flowing from her eyes. Well, are you crying? Didn't I beat you enough on Kirin Mountain? Kiran sneered coldly at Macy. Everyone was stunned by his words. What? What's going on? Kirin Mountain, could it be? Lindsay's face changed at Kiran's words, a sense of foreboding filling her heart. What do you mean? What's wrong with my mom? Sophia, unable to bear it anymore, ran towards Macy. At the critical moment, Lindsay grabbed Sophia. She's not your mother anymore. If I'm not mistaken, she must be Chi Gang. Lindsay didn't want to say it, but the person before them was indeed Chi Gang, not Macy. Who's Chi Gang? Sophia asked urgently. A ghost fetus of a dead person, Kiran replied. What? Sophia gasped, realizing her mother was possessed by a ghost fetus, nearly fainting. Lindsay quickly steadied her. Ha ha ha, Kiran. If Byron Murphy hadn't slipped on Kirin Mountain, do you think you would still be alive to talk to me now? But it doesn't matter. Killing you now isn't too late. Chi Gang, using Macy's body, smiled eerily, sending chills down everyone's spine. Such arrogance? Kiran sneered. Have you forgotten your humiliating escape just now? Chi Gang was enraged by Kiran's provocation. Damn it, then die! Kiran charged at Macy. Chi Gang, being just a head without a body, had a significant disadvantage against Kiran. This time, Kiran was confident in defeating Chi Gang and capturing his spirit. Macy, however, stood calmly, hands behind her back, smiling. Kiran, if you have the guts, kill this body's owner too. Kiran halted immediately. At this moment, Kiran and Chi Gang were in a stalemate. Chi Gang couldn't match Kiran in a direct fight, but Kiran couldn't risk harming Macy. Worried about her mother, Sophia cried out, Master, no, don't! Joshua also pleaded, Young master, please don't. Both siblings knelt, begging Kiran. Kiran was furious and frustrated, retracting his fist and glaring at Macy. Chi Gang, you're really cunning. Sophia and Joshua sighed in relief as Kiran held back. What, can't bear to do it? Ha ha ha, Kiran, even you hesitate. Don't worry, I won't hesitate to kill you. Chi Gang's words were barely finished when Mace's body vanished. The next moment she appeared behind Kirin, her hands striking his back. As Chi Gang said, Kirin hesitated to harm Macy, but Chi Gang had no such reservations. "Master, be careful," Sophia cried out. "Kirin, watch out," Lindsay also screamed. Kirin's face remained cold and stern. Chapter 879. "Come out," Kirin York shouted, spreading his fingers and aiming his palm at Macy Wendell's head. "Don't kill my mom," Sophia Carter screamed in terror, crying out loud. Lindsay Ludwig quickly pulled Sophia back, preventing her from rushing forward. Chi Gang, controlling Macy's body, showed no fear, and instead moved toward Kirin's palm. Kirin's eyes flashed coldly. Just as his palm was about to touch Macy's head, silver needles suddenly shot out from his hand. With a series of thuds, 9 silver needles embedded themselves in Macy's body. Ah! Chi Gang, inside Macy's body, let out a pained scream. Macy collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing violently. "Mom," Sophia cried out. Kirin spread his hand and slowly pressed down on Macy's head. "Kirin, you can't kill me!" Chi Gang shouted, angrily emerging from Macy's head. "Ah?" Sophia and Joshua Carter saw Chi Gang for the first time, realizing he was just a floating head, and screamed in fright. Lindsay quickly pulled Sophia back. Chi Gang's head floated in the air, glaring at Kirin with furious eyes, shooting beams of light that converged to attack Kirin. "Chi Gang, I didn't expect you to be so cunning," Kirin sneered. "Aren't you cunning too? If you weren't so sly, how could you have forced me out?" Chi Gang retorted, thinking of how Kirin had pretended to harm Macy, leading to the 9 silver needles forming a 9-star Yang formation, forcing him out. "I'm not talking about that. You kept Cedric Brew alive at the Kirin Mountain just for the heavenly silkworm goo to keep a backup for your survival," Kirin said coldly. Chi Gang's expression changed, surprised that Kirin had figured this out. "No wonder Cedric didn't get poisoned there. You ensured it," Kirin continued. Chi Gang's face changed several times. "Kirin, you're too smart. Smart people are always hated. Tell me who Lady Meiji is, and I can let you die more peacefully." "Ha-ha." Chi Gang laughed at Kirin. "You think you can threaten me? Do you think that's possible?" "You think it's impossible?" Kirin smirked, stepping forward, a silver needle appearing in his hand. "I can definitely kill you." "You think I'll believe Tat?" Chi Gang glared, shooting beams of light at Kirin. Sophia and Joshua watched, feeling like they were witnessing a sci-fi movie. Kirin, undaunted, raised his hand and shot a silver needle into Chi Gang's line of sight. Ting! The sound of the needle hitting the beams echoed in the air. "Kirin, you can't hurt me," Chi Gang boasted arrogantly. "You think you can't be hurt?" Kiran's voice was filled with mockery. Chi Gang paused, suddenly feeling pain in his forehead, then saw red blood trickling out. "Kirin, you. Of course, my intelligence is higher than a fool like you," Kirin taunted, stepping forward. Chi Gang felt like his head was about to explode. "Kirin, you're too cunning, damn it." "This is cunning? You must think I'm an idiot," Kirin said, launching more silver needles. Chi Gang's head was quickly turned into a pincushion, the needles pinning it to the wall. Chi Gang, humiliated and furious, glared at Kirin with eyes full of fire but was unable to move. "Kirin, what do you want?" Chi Gang roared. "Tell me who Lady Meiji is and surrender your spirit. I'll let you die quickly." "I won't tell you. Lady Meiji will always be a mystery. Then I'll separate your spirit from your head." "What did you say?" Chi Gang seemed nervous. "Don't think I don't know. Your spirit isn't here." "Ah," Chi Gang exclaimed, looking at Kirin. "This is just a wisp of your consciousness controlling your head while your spirit is hidden." Kirin looked into Chi Gang's eyes. "You're just a puppet controlled by someone else's power." "I'm not a puppet. I'm a living person." Chi Gang was enraged, his pride hurt. "You have no dignity. You're neither human nor ghost," Kirin mocked. "Damn it!" Chi Gang roared, shaking his head to break free. Kirin sneered. "You should consider how you want to die." Chi Gang, I can shatter your head, making your spirit useless," Kirin said, pausing. "I can also make your spirit scatter." "Impossible!" Chi Gang shouted angrily. Smack! Kirin stepped forward and slapped Chi Gang's face. Chi Gang, always arrogant, had never suffered such humiliation. "Kirin, if you have the guts, kill me. Here's your last chance." "Do you want to live?" Kirin asked coldly. "Don't daydream. I won't tell you who Lady Meiji is or where my spirit is," Chi Gang shouted, not believing Kirin would dare kill him. "Then it's time for you to go," Kirin said, raising his hand and shooting 2 silver needles into Chi Gang's eyes. Chi Gang's eyes glowed, trying to counterattack, but Kiran, already moving, forcefully slapped down. Chi-Gang felt his head cracking open. Bang! Unable to withstand the pressure, his head exploded like a balloon. Kiran didn't stop. His right hand turned into a claw, reaching into the fractured head. Ah! A sound like a baby's cry echoed in the air. The sound seemed to come from Kiran's hand. Die! Kiran shouted, his hand clenching tightly, making a sharp noise. Black smoke billowed from Kiran's hand. Chi-Gang's head, shattered into pieces, fell and vanished. In a distant sunland, a woman spat out a mouthful of blood, her face pale as paper. She clutched her chest, her eyes filled with resentment as she looked east. Kiran, I will kill you! Her resentful voice seemed to penetrate Kiran's heart, making it tremble. Kiran suddenly thought of Aoki Kozner, turned, and ran out of the villa. Chapter 880. Dragon City Hospital, in Aoki Kozner's ward. Aoki Kozner was still asleep. Yvonne Quinn was sitting on the sofa next to her, dozing off. Suddenly, Kiran York burst through the door. Both women's eyes widened as they looked at him, their eyes bright and full of love. Kiran quickly walked to Aoki's bedside. Aoki blushed, thinking Kiran was concerned about her injuries. I'm feeling much better now, she said shyly. Yvonne, still on the sofa, didn't get up. She blinked her eyes in slight resentment, thinking, this man only cares about other women and never about me. Kiran stared at Aoki's face for several seconds. Aoki, unsure of his intentions and thinking about their previous kiss, felt flustered. Did he want to kiss her again? She felt nervous seeing Yvonne there. Kiran broke his gaze and asked gently, have you heard of Lady Meiji in Sunland? Aoki, initially thinking he was concerned about her, realized she had misunderstood and blushed deeply. She paused, then replied, she is a legendary, mysterious woman in Sunland. I've never met her, only heard of her. What kind of mysterious woman? Kiran asked quickly. I've only heard that she controls many secrets in Sunland and is respected and revered by many there, Aoki said, looking at Kiran with curiosity. She clearly didn't understand why he was asking about Lady Meiji. Yvonne, intrigued, leaned forward. What happened? Kiran recounted the events at Kirin Mountain. Hearing that Byron Murphy was Lady Meiji's disciple and aimed to resurrect the ghost fetus Chi-Gang, both women were shocked. If that's the case, Chi-Gang must be a very important figure, Aoki said after a brief pause, looking at Kiran. Anyone associated with Lady Meiji is a significant person. His ability to help resurrect Chi-Gang suggests Chi-Gang's status is extraordinary. Kiran remained silent, his expression serious. I'm just an insignificant person, Aoki said, blushing and looking at Kiran. Many significant people have fallen at the hands of the insignificant, Yvonne teased to lighten the mood. I wouldn't harm Kiran, Aoki said anxiously, trying to explain. Kiran knew Aoki liked him. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her face and said, once you're better, we'll go back to Sunland together. Please, don't go back to Sunland, Aoki pleaded, her head shaking like a rattle, her eyes full of supplication. She remembered Kiran's near-death experience there, retrieving Blake Frost's sword, and quickly refused. Kiran didn't respond, but his expression grew resolute. He had to kill Lady Meiji. From behind, Yvonne hugged Kiran gently and said, Aoki is very innocent. The enemy likely won't use her. As a woman who could sense Kiran's thoughts, Yvonne knew Kiran cared for Aoki, not romantically, but as a pure friend. Hearing their conversation, Aoki smiled happily, full of expectation. Your injuries are not severe. Let's go back to the villa to recuperate, Kiran said to Aoki. Great. I don't want to stay here, Aoki said excitedly. Kiran removed the various needles from Aoki and inserted a few silver needles into her, then lifted her and with Yvonne headed back to the villa. When they returned, Lindsay was already back from Sophia's house, pacing anxiously. Kiran, are you okay? Lindsay asked with concern upon seeing him. Kiran shook his head. I'm fine now. Let's all get some rest. Lindsay, relieved, went to shower and sleep. Kiran returned to his room and had just sat down when he heard a voice. What's bothering you? Sue Walton's voice sounded in Kiran's ear. Kiran perked up and quickly asked, What do you know? Can you tell me? Sure. If you agree to my terms, I'll tell you, Sue said with a smile. That's impossible. Why insist? Kiran thought of the two of them being together and refused. If it's impossible, then forget it. Sue's tone showed no disappointment. What's the relationship between Chi-Gang, Byron Murphy, and Lady Meiji? Kiran asked, hoping for a clue. Do you really want to know? Of course. If you really want to know, you need to do one thing. What is it? Go and sleep with Aoki Kozner. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Kiran, angered, was about to snap at Sue. Whether you listen to me is up to you. However, if you don't sleep with Aoki, you'll end up in a passive position, Sue said. What do you mean? Explain clearly. Lady Meiji is a woman. I know she's a woman, Kirin replied sarcastically. That's not the point. The point is, she needs a man to combine with. What does that have to do with me? Kirin, still suspicious of Sue's intentions, spoke with a harsh tone. Sue wasn't offended and continued, You are now responsible for protecting Dragonsland's dragon veins. What nonsense, Kirin said, though he was shocked at Sue's knowledge. Since learning about the dragon vein, Kirin had naturally taken it upon himself to protect them. This responsibility had even lessened his hatred for the Imperial Dragon as he started thinking from a broader perspective. Last time in Sunland, the awakening of the dragon sword made Lady Meiji start paying attention to you. And then, if she combines with you and absorbs your dragon soul power, Sunland will grow stronger while Dragonsland will weaken. How could that be? I don't even have the chance to sleep with a woman. How could she? Kirin, knowing he was under a love spell, couldn't help but joke. So your best move now is to sleep with Aoki Kozner, losing your last opportunity to sleep with another woman temporarily. I won't do that. If you don't listen, then suit yourself, Sue said before her voice faded. Kirin thought they were all crazy and decided to lie down and sleep. He didn't know how long he had slept when he dreamed of a woman. This woman was not only beautiful but also seductive and had a familiar face.